Rob Wittman is joining us now. Dr. Rob Wittman, Republican Congressman, 1st District, Virginia. Well, it's kind of the Central Virginia area around Fredericksburg and things like that. The neck, as they call it, he represents that also, and favored to win re-election in 2018, but he takes nothing for granted. He's also chairman of the all-powerful subcommittee on naval military readiness, so he's very involved in our sea power activities, and he's with us now. Rob Wittman, great to have you, Doc.
Good morning, John. It's great to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity again.
I think I've got the best introduction for you going. I really do. The next time you have an event, you should get me there, because I got that nailed after 5 years, man. I got it.
You do.
I got it down.
You've got it.
I got it down for Dr. Wittman.
Best intro for me going.
I got it down for Dr. Wittman. And anyway, Doc, so look, wow, let's get to this. The hearing yesterday, and your good friend Jim Jordan getting into it there with Rosenstein. We've been playing the clips all day. What did you guys make of that?
Well, I think everybody across the spectrum just wants to get this information. This information has been requested multiple times, and folks across the spectrum, from the Speaker to the folks on the Judiciary Committee, from Chairman Goodlatte to, as you said, Jim Jordan, to others, all just want to get this information so we can get a full understanding of what's behind this. What were the base documents behind beginning this investigation? What was the subsequent information gathered? What was the role then, the continued role of Peter Strzok and others who, by any measure, are unbelievably biased in this? And at what point did people within the Department of Justice and the FBI know that? And what action did they take? All those things, need to be transparent. Congress has an oversight role. Congress needs to get that particular information. And as you have seen, the Justice Department has just been, extraordinarily slow in getting this out. I cannot imagine why it has been that slow. These are simple requests, and when you have members across the spectrum frustrated with not being able to get this information, I think it speaks to what needs to happen here. Yesterday, I think, too, that there was equal amount of frustration, especially with Chairman Gowdy. I mean, he pretty much laid it on the line. He said, listen, this is dividing the country. Let's get this information out there. Let's stop slow-rolling this. Get the doggone thing done. And I think that's the way a lot of people feel about this. And I think the questions yesterday were an expression of the frustration of Congress. Congress has a constitutional role of oversight to be able to look at this, to make determinations, to get this done. It is critical that job be completed, and it can't be, as these documents are either withheld or slow-rolled, or, a lot of the documents that have come out have had massive redactions in there, things that you can't make any sense out of the document if you look at it. And, the only things that are not redacted are the V's and the thens and the R's and the is. I mean, those, it's entirely unfathomable why it's taking this long to get the information that the committee has asked for. So yesterday, I think all the questioning was directed along those lines and saying, get the information to us, and then trying to make the different associations, too, with what happened with the Inspector General's report. The Inspector General's report had information in it, unredacted, that was requested by the committee that shows up in the IG's report, but that the committee didn't get. So I think the committee is rightfully frustrated to say, wait a minute, what's going on here? We requested that information. We don't get it, yet it shows up in the IG's report. Why should it be different for one person to receive it and the legislative body, who has the constitutional oversight role, not receiving it? And then, much of this was very substantive. The tweets back and forth from Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, indicating extreme bias. There's a frustration there that's just, unlimited in my mind with what has happened and the things that haven't been divulged to the committee that they've asked for. And I think have been extraordinarily patient. And anytime that you have Speaker Ryan get frustrated with Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray, that they are not doing the things that Congress needs for them to do.
Let me ask you this, Congressman Rob Wittman. What do you think Rosenstein's motivation is here?
I don't know. I don't know, John. The only thing that I can imagine is that the information contained in the documents that we've asked for are very embarrassing to the Department of Justice, just like the text that we've seen between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. That's the only thing that I can imagine that it's not going to reflect well on them. That there's also other information there that will show that this was not a fair and impartial investigation, and that they are not going to be well reflected in the documents that come out. That's the only thing that I can imagine is keeping them from doing this or having them slow play this.
All right, so Congressman Wittman, let me ask you this. There's one segment of society here, of America, that is rooting for the Mueller investigation to go on. CNN covers it, except if there's a horrific event like we just had. They cover it nonstop every day. And we've had several people on our show say, look, the Clinton Whitewater thing went on for years, so this is nothing new. The other investigation we had during the Reagan years, that went on much longer until they got to the bottom of it, and really never got to the bottom of it because he didn't do anything, so et cetera. So, look, we're 18 months into this thing. We have no evidence on any collusion. I mean, the original idea was, did the president or his campaign, when he was Mr. Trump, Canada Trump, did they collude with the Russians to help them win the election? 18 months, $50 million, no evidence. I mean, at what point do you have to say, look, either put up or shut up?
Well, I think, at least in my mind, where we are right now is Mr. Mueller has had all the time and the resources necessary to be able to come to conclusion on this investigation. And I think everybody across the spectrum wants this thing to be done quickly. And I just can't for the life of me figure out why they wouldn't want to do that. I mean, we are, as Chairman Gowdy said, I mean, this just continues to be a mechanism of antagonism that's been used, unfortunately, to reflect upon the Congress, upon the executive branch, and why that continues is beyond me, and it's frustrating because you look at it and you go, there is an element of timeliness in any of these investigations, and timeliness in justice. There is no justice when there is not timeliness, and dragging this on and on, makes it appear that it's less and less of an independent look and more political in its nature, and none of us want it to be that way. But as it drags on and on and on, I think you can easily get the feeling that it is a political effort rather than truly an independent investigation. So I think that they've had ample time to bring all this information together. He certainly has enough staff to be able to do this.
Right.
I think for the sake of the nation, this thing ought to be done. Put your findings out there. Take your actions. Put your recommendations out, whatever they may be, and let's get this done.
Yeah, wrap it up. I mean, whatever it is, but I think it needs to end. And it almost seems like it's just dragging on for political purposes. I could see this dragging on through 2020. I mean, look, they're all making a lot of money. They have no budget. They have unlimited power. They do whatever they please. I mean, even the judge, I think it was a federal judge in Virginia, criticized the whole Mueller investigation and said they're out to get Trump. They have no checks, no balances, all the power, all the authority. They don't care what anybody says. And he said it was out of control. So yeah. I think, all this has got to be looked at, Congressman, and I think people are getting sick of it. And look, if they got evidence, put it out there. If they don't have evidence, wrap it up. Simple as that.
That's right.
And,
yep.
whoever they've gotten, Manafort and Gates from, money not paying taxes or whatever they've done in the Ukraine or whatever their businesses had nothing to do with the campaign. And so they just got to get to the bottom of this and get rid of it. So I agree with you on that. John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We are with Congressman Republican Rob Wittman from Virginia, 1st District. He's up for re-election in November 2018. And he's also the chairman of basically what I call the Sea Power Readiness Committee, in charge of ships and subs and all that stuff, Marines and all that good stuff. And he's been doing that for a very long time, quite knowledgeable. Congressman, let's get to immigration reform. Dead in the water. What happens now?
Well, John, I think there's still an opportunity there. The lost opportunity, I believe, was with the first bill, with the first Goodlatte bill. They got 193 votes. To me, you could have taken that bill as the basis of where you could find agreement, where you could make some changes to that, instead of what ended up as the compromise bill that, got 120 votes, 121 votes. That was farther away from a place where you could find common ground. So it was frustrating to me how that back and forth was occurring. I think, with the first bill, 193 votes. If you get 17 votes there, then that gets you to the 218 with being able to turn those no votes to yes votes. To me, that's the opportunity there. That's the foundation of a bill that has the 4 pillars that have to happen with immigration reform. You have to have a reasonable and thoughtful way to deal with DACA recipients, legal status. You have to fix chain migration and not add significant numbers to it like the second bill did, the so-called compromise bill. You have to end visa lottery, make it a merit-based system, and you have to do border security, which has to include building the wall as well as other ways to monitor the border, putting border guards there to make sure that it is indeed a comprehensive way to secure the border, and the wall is part of that. So I think those 4 pillars were stronger in Goodlatte 1 bill, as it's called, versus the compromise bill. So it's unfortunate. It was an opportunity lost. I think there's still an opportunity there if they were to work from that first bill. I kind of wish that's where they started from rather than moving away from that and starting a whole different bill. But it is what it is, and now we still have to address the separation of families issue. The Senate yesterday moved on legislation to address the separation of families, to be able to keep families together, but to make sure too, because remember, the Flores court ruling gave 20 days for them to adjudicate those families. So that means you have to put resources there. You're going to have to bring administrative asylum judges down to the border to hear those cases quickly. So it is going to take a change in policy and resources to make that happen in a timely way. I know that there are several bills over in the Senate. I think Senator Cruz has one, Senator Rubio has one, and they're working through that to get that through. I imagine that when we get back in town after 4th of July, that will be before the House, or the House may take up its own, and then both of those bills would go to conference. But that has to be addressed.
Well, we're running out of time. So tell us, I've got 1 minute, the new Goodlatte bill, son of Goodlatte bill. What is that?
Well, the son of Goodlatte bill provided a change in how the chain migration system worked. It actually provided an opportunity for the parents of those DACA recipients to essentially jump in line to pursue citizenship, and we didn't think that was fair. Also, it didn't include E-Verify. It didn't include reforms to the guest programs, all things that we thought were critical to actually fix the problems in the immigration system now, which has become very archaic. It's become illogical. So those were the major issues there, John. It essentially, it was unfair to those folks that are standing in line doing the way the things they're supposed to pursue legal immigration,
right,
giving advantage to those folks that have come here illegally, and that's not what this system should be about.
All right. Well, you've got to get that done. No question about it. We're going to get these families reunited and go to Plan B. Meantime, Congressman Dr. Rob Wittman, thanks for being with us. More information, you can go to whitman.house for re-election 2018, November, against Angie Williams. He's a heavy favorite there, but he takes nothing for granted. Congressman Wittman, thanks for being with us.